right. So without further ado, let's get the chef, Sugar Shane, on the show. Welcome to the program, sir.
Oh, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Speaking of pirates and misfits, here we are.
Indeed.
And the boat pulled in.
How did you go from, pan throwing, tatted restaurant, pirate chef
Yeah.
to this?
There's probably some of that still left in me.
I don't think that goes away.
No.
It doesn't leave you.
You didn't remember the comment he made? And I was like, ooh, that's a chef comment. It
You
never
said that
leaves
several
you.
times today.
Because it never leaves you.
Yeah. I think for me, I know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. I think, and that's a unique skill set that not all people have. I'm not 100% sure where that came from, but I'll probably give credit to my parents on that. I mean, my mom was a school teacher, and my dad was a cop, and so it was a pretty strict combination there in my house. But there was always a level of joking and smack talking. My dad was one of 9 kids and grew up in a farm family. We just had a family reunion up in Michigan with a lot of my uncles, and like hearing them all just like talk smack all day to my dad, and my dad gave it back to them. And my son now, who's 13, is hearing it and he's interjecting. It's like, oh my God, this is just handed down through the generations. But for me, going back to your question, I think that plays well in being able to like, hey man, put on a long sleeve shirt, cover up your tattoos, and you can sit in a boardroom and have a conversation. And as long as you're educated and smart enough to understand the number side, you can change into a short sleeve chef coat, show your tattoos, and have fun in the kitchen just like anyone else.
We're in a different time anyway, right?
Correct.
It's a different time. But I will tell you, so with how I see the fit, and because you even have the skull and crossbones on the, I'm staring at it now. So
He's got a pirate hat on that.
I know, I see it. I'm
In the
saying.
scroll across,
Yeah, I
that's
see
why
it.
he's laughing.
Right, I know. That's what I'm trying to say here. But here's what I'm getting at. The brand that you work for now, I don't know if they can be cutting edge without someone with your sort of background.
Yeah.
I think it fits. Where in other places it's not going to fit, because they're looking for a different end use, a different product,
That's right.
right? Different execution or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's terrific.
Thanks, man. I agree with you. I love it. Obviously, it's shaped a really cool, fun life for me. And I think all the credit in the world needs to be given to, our current president and CEO. His name's Chris Tomaso. Awesome guy. Was our chief marketing officer. And, he kind of recruited me, over 10 years ago. And we sat and we talked not about this brand, but like about this culture. And to say, hey, we've been around for 30 years. And all I knew, and I told him this is that, is where my grandma took me for breakfast, which, isn't the best thing to say in an interview, which he let me know. And I was like, listen, man, I'm an honest guy. I'm going to shoot you straight. Like that's kind of what I know. And he said, hey, we're hearing that a lot lately. And this is the future of the brand. And he showed me a drawing. It hadn't even been built yet of a restaurant. And I was like, oh, like that's different, man. And that's the first watch that you guys all know and see today. But this is early. This is 10 plus years ago. And he showed me that drawing and he said, we've always been known for great service. And we're going to revamp kind of the look and feel of the restaurants. And we need someone to help the food keep up with what we're doing. And, he gave me that opportunity. At the time, bringing up tattoos, at the time we had a tattoo policy, a no tattoo policy. So if you worked in the front of the house at First Watch, you had to either wear long sleeves or cover up your tattoos with a Band-Aid or whatever it was. Yeah, crazy. So I did my training, and I called him after like my 3rd day of front of the house training, and I was like, hey, man, like this tattoo thing's not going to work. I'm not going to put long sleeves on every time I go into a restaurant. And I'm like, also, what are we doing, dude? We must be missing so many awesome candidates, right? So many opportunities for these kids out there just because they look like me. I'm like, we've turned a corner now. And now that I'm here, like, we need to do something about it. And he said, we've already had the discussion. We're getting rid of the tattoo policy. I was like, hey, cool. That's a big deal. To this day, 10 or more years later, I still meet servers or now people who are GMs or even director of operations for us who came up through the ranks and are like, dude, you changed the world for me. I don't have to cover up my tattoos. And imagine all the people that we've hired who are just badass managers.
So many creative people. I don't have any, but like I respect it. I like artsy stuff or whatever. So I mean, I'm all about it. But here's the thing. I do remember the Band-Aid thing, like back in the day or if you had earrings and you had to put a band, like, oh my God, you look ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the mentality of the culture, right? Of the restaurant industry as a whole. That's what it used to be. You know, there's this stupid meme that goes around. And it's like it used to be you were a biker and a murderer when you had tattoos. Now it's like I'm doing a gastrique of balsamic and roasted duck, and that's because you've got the tats.
I know that.
You know, and it's funny because that's the way it goes. What I love about the culture, what you're talking about. There's so many concepts that are out there that they get to a point where they're like, we have to go that way because then you have the pencil pushers, as we like to call them, the guys with the activists, just sitting there going, wait, that's too much money. We're going to lose. So we have to do it this way, and we have to go and cut corners at the food. You cut corners at the food, guess what happens? You lose your guests.
Yeah.
If you lose your guests,
you lose your soul.
Yeah, that's the problem. But because the pencil pushers are seeing the ROI dwindle and erode, they don't realize that if you cut the corners in the quality of the food, which is your foundation, the reason why you started this business, guess what? You're going to have the empty seats, which is the most expensive real estate you have in your restaurant. Yeah. But if you stick to it, and then you have these, not only, I don't think you have like a partnership. You don't have like a farmer. You have partnerships,
right?
Because you're going to these farmers, you're meeting them, you're shaking their hands, you're doing business with them, and they believe in the product because you're putting that product out. Your cooks are around the 500. They're putting that product out, so they're going to have passion because they can talk about where that food is coming from.
That's right. Yeah, and we do as much of that educating as we can, whether it be on our social media or internally. I mean, every time we launch a new, LTO, one of these seasonal menus every 10 weeks, like I get on a call with every single general manager and everyone in operations above those general managers on one big conference call. And I talk about the dishes and I walk them through, of course, hey, here's how we're going to make it. But like, there's little videos for that. But like, tell them like, hey, here was the inspiration for it. Here's where I saw this. We have a, like salted caramel, apple holy donuts dish right now that for me has apple butter on it, which was, inspired by my grandma. Like I ate apple butter as a kid. My grandma
hard to make, by the way.
Hard to make. My grandma was from Ohio, and like
consuming.
That's it. And we were never jelly people.
Wait a second.
Yeah,
you were able to take a recipe inspired by your grandmother and introduce it into First Watch.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
The apple butter is like from my childhood. So there's little nuggets along the way that I can be like, there's nothing else that makes sense here. Let's put apple butter on this dish, and now here it is. It actually just launched on Tuesday in whatever 500 plus restaurants.